Hi, my name is Annie, and welcome to the Walking Word, where we go through the Holy Bible in a year as part of discipling. We are currently reading the book of First Samuel, and we are in chapter 13, where King Saul, offers a sacrifice. Um, Saul, we don't know how long Saul had reigned as king by the time he's doing this, but it says Saul had reigned for 1 year, and when he had reigned for 2 years over Israel, now it goes further to expound. Saul then chose 3,000 men of Israel, of whom 2,000 remained with him in Michmash and in the hill country of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan of Gibeah of Benjamin. He sent the rest of the people back to their tents. Now Jonathan overcame the Philistine garrison. Garrison is where a country or a nation puts its armory, right? Now Jonathan overcame the Philistine garrison which was in Gibeah, and Philistines got word of it. Then Saul sounded the horn throughout the land with a proclamation, "Let the Hebrews hear." Now, there's something about when chapter 13 begins that doesn't give exact clarity. He couldn't have reigned for 2 years because by this time his son Jonathan has overcome the Philistine garrison. So that means, his Saul has grown old enough. He's ruled for over time. I think many, not that I think, but many biblical teachers agree that it must have been a period after 40 years, thereabout, of his reign, because now he has a son whom he can send out to lead war, to lead in a raid. So back to the scripture. We are in verse 3. Now Jonathan overcame the Philistine garrison, which was in Gibeah, and the Philistines got word of it. Then Saul sounded the horn throughout the land with a proclamation, "Let the Hebrews hear." Thus all Israel learned that Saul had overcome the garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel had brought disgrace upon the Philistines. And the soldiers were called up to Saul in Gilgal. The Philistines also assembled for battle with 3,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and foot soldiers as numerous as the sands of the seashore. This is to show us that there are plenty. Moving up against Israel, they encamped in Michmash, east of Beth-aven. Some Israelites, aware of the danger and of the difficult situation, hid themselves in caves, in thickets, amongst rocks. So they were hiding from these Philistines. And it's interesting, these Philistines, they're just like this never ending annoying mosquito in caverns and insistence. And the Hebrews passed over the Jordan into the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul, however, held out Gilgal. Although all his followers were seized with fear, he waited 7 days, the time Samuel had determined. So Samuel, the prophet, is still alive and tells him, wait out, give it 7 years, 7 days. When Samuel did not arrive at Gilgal, the men began to slip away from Saul. So at this time, the prophet of the Lord has told Saul, chill, do not do anything, do not make a move, do not offer sacrifice, just chill for 7 days. But now the men of Saul are getting wary. Some of them are sleeping, some of them are aborting mission, and Saul is in panic. King Saul is in panic. When Saul did not arrive, when Samuel did not arrive in Gilgal, the men began to slip away from Saul. He then said, bring me the holocaust and peace offerings. And he offered up the holocaust himself, which was incorrect because it was only the prophet who had a priestly duty. Remember Samuel? He had been dedicated into priestly duties from his childhood under Eli. Then, of course, we understand that he's a prophet of God, but also he acted as a judge. So he had these three anointings upon him. He had just finished this offering when Samuel arrived. Can you imagine if he only waited a few moments later? Saul went out to greet him, and Samuel asked him, "What have you done?" Saul replied, "When I saw that the men were slipping away from me, since you had not come by the specified time, and with the Philistines assembled at Michmash, I said to myself, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not yet sought the Lord's blessing. So in my anxiety, when we move before God, I know sometimes it can be anxious. Sometimes you feel like, God, if I could only hear your voice, like, could you please shout with a microphone from up there? But when we move ahead of Him, it's pricey. It gets very costly. So in my anxiety, when the Lord's instruction is very clear, do not be anxious for anything. I offered up the Holocaust. Samuel's response was, "You have been foolish. Have you kept the command of the Lord your God gave you? The Lord would now establish your kingship in Israel as lasting. But as things are, your kingdom shall not endure." So God's initial intention was to allow Saul's kingship to be um, an everlasting one, a lasting one, like generation to generation. But now, nope, it won't endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and has appointed him commander of his people because you broke the Lord's command. Now God has really changed his mind. You're moving ahead of me. I can't, no. Now I am going to look for a man after my own heart. Then Samuel set out from Gilgal and went his own way. But the rest of the people went up after Saul to meet the soldiers, going from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. Saul then numbered the soldiers he had with him. There were about 600. Saul, his son Jonathan, and the soldiers they had with them were now occupying Geba of Benjamin, and the Philistines were encamped at Michmash. Meanwhile, raiders left the camp of the Philistines in three bands. One band took the Ophrah road toward the district of Shual. Another turned in the direction of Beth Horon, and the third took the road of Geba that overlooks the valley of the hyenas towards the desert. Not a single smith was to be found in the whole land of Israel, for the Philistines had said, otherwise the Hebrews will make swords and spears. All Israel therefore had to go down to the Philistines to sharpen their plowshares. Can you imagine going to your own enemy's territory to sharpen your... Huh? That's weird. To sharpen your swords and spears. They went there to sharpen their plowshares, their mattocks, their axes, and sickles. The price for the plowshares and mattocks were 2/3 of a shekel, and 1/3 of a shekel for sharpening the axes and for setting the ox goads. And so on the day of battle, neither sword nor spear could be found in possession of any of the soldiers with Saul or Jonathan. Only Saul and his son Jonathan had them. An outpost of the Philistines had pushed forward to the pass of Michmash. Now, let's go to chapter 14, where we see Saul taking an oath and violating that oath.